I got my man Glynn Morgan back here. We're talking NFL draft. My favorite prospects for the Chicago Bears this year, or some guys that you like. I like a lot of guys going into this draft. It's a special year with talent, especially at the top of the draft. Is there anybody that sticks out for you as far as favorite prospects or guys that might even be perfect fits for the Bears?
Yeah, I mean, first and foremost, and this isn't as nuanced, so to speak, but I just really like this guy. I really love Roma Dunze. I love his ability to track the ball over either shoulder. I like the fact that he improved so much with his 50-50 attacks at the football this year. I enjoy the fact that he plays big in big games. He's consistent. He's got size. He's got speed. I mean, if you don't get Marvin Harrison Jr., I'm really okay with him. If you look at their numbers, and again, I'm not the most statistical guy, but those are factors. You look at his numbers, especially over the last 2 years, pretty much the same. I mean, there's very little variance there, and I believe that's somebody that you can build with. And we've talked so much about the Bears getting a wide receiver, and Marvin Harrison clearly is a primary receiver. It'd be great to have him, but we already have a primary receiver, so we don't necessarily need to have to get one. But if we get one who's maybe like a number two with the prospect of being a number one with that upside number one, I'm fine with that as well. And so getting someone like a Dunze would be awesome. Now, a lot of people like Malik Neighbors. I love him too. I just feel like we already have him. His name is DJ Moore. So
that's my point, man. Yeah, Malik Neighbors is a prospect I love, but he's a DJ Moore clone to me. That's what he is. Yeah. But when the guy you mentioned, Roma Dunze, to me, I got him in my top 5 prospects. I got him right around number 5. Okay. He's one of the best players. I think he moves for a guy that big. He's such a fluid mover. Like he moves really fluidly. A little bit of Devontae Adams to his game, and he's a guy I really love his style of play. But if it wasn't for Marvin, he's number 1 receiver in the class. But unfortunately, he's in the year with Marvin Harrison, so it's tough. But I think people are overrating. I think too many people think we can just get him at 9. I see so many people out there. Oh, we got to take Caleb at 1, and then you just grab Roma Dunze at 9. I could see Roma Dunze going if Marv's gone. I think the Cardinals could take him at 4. I think he could go at 5 to the Giants, even 6 to the Chargers, a team that just took Quentin Johnson. That Keenan Allen's a little old. Mike Williams is hurt and coming off big injury. Quentin Johnson kind of a bust. Hey, you get Roma Dunze out there, it'd look nice. Now, if I were them, I would take a tackle. But I'm saying it's not. If Roma Dunze is still on the board at that point, that means the other team probably took a tackle. Though, if you're setting a 6, to me, Roma Dunze is one of the top 6 prospects. So.
Yeah, so a big fan, and clearly we both are big fans of his skill set. That being said, another receiver who actually there's a lot of receivers in this draft.
Exactly, man. You're the receiver is what I've been calling it, man.
And I like Keon Coleman a lot, and that's someone that if we don't get Odunze, as you mentioned, at 9, trading down, I can see us acquiring Keon Coleman. Now he doesn't have the explosive speed per se, but he's good. He has good long speed, and his catching radius is like an albatross, condor. It's ridiculous. He can snag the ball. Another thing too, a lot of people don't realize that he was a punt returner for Florida State as well. And now I'm not saying I necessarily want him to have to do it, but he can do it, and that's been an issue that we've had. And hey, look, some other guys like Tim Brown have been in the Hall of Fame, and they punt return for a good portion of their career. So if you're good at it,
punt returners don't take the beatings that kick returners do. So I wouldn't mind if you got a guy back there. You don't want to put DJ Moore back there, but hey, if you can get a guy, especially if we could somehow, if there's a chance Keon Coleman falls to round 2. Because this class is so stacked, I see him as somewhere between 15 and 40. He goes. He could go as high as 15, but with how high this receiver class is, I could see a team preferring a Brian Thomas or an Xavier Legette over him. So and him falling a little bit. So it's possible if we could get him late like that. Hey, put him out there on punt returns and have him be your number 2 receiver. I'd love it.
Yeah, so I'm pumped for him. Edge rusher wise, I really like Leatu Latu's story. I really like his ability to mix it up. He's of the edge rushers coming out, I think he's got the most counter moves, and I think he's really good at those compared to some of his peers.
And he can chain them together as well, really well. Yeah.
Yes, so I like that. I think he needs to work a little more on his functional strength a little bit. I've seen sometimes he even at the Senior Bowl, some of the one-on-ones, I think he got it. Sometimes power guy. They get
Fuaga got him. Yeah, Fuaga
yeah,
got him. Yeah.
yeah,
Fuaga
but
got everybody. I think Fuaga's the only one who got him, though. That guy's a monster. Yeah.
right. So, but I mean, that being said, I mean, he showed, and only the biggest concern I had with Latu was his injury history, obviously in the neck area, if I remember correctly. But he's shown the last 2 seasons durability after that, so I feel good going forward with him. I'm not the biggest Jared Verse fan, but I do like his physical attributes. As far as other edge rushers, there's one that's growing, intriguing. I'm getting more and more intrigued by him, and that's Marshawn Nealon
Okay. He
out of, I
looked
think,
really
West.
good at the Senior Bowl. Yeah.
Yeah, I think out of Western Michigan, if I remember correctly. So that's someone who I like. Like when we're talking about double drafting a position, like if you got a lot to, and then like in the 4th round or 5th round, high 5th round or something, you're able to get Nealon. I'm like, yeah, now I'm seeing what you're doing here, and I like what you're mixing in. So I like guys like that. That they have a lot to prove. You don't know about them as much, and they may be there for the taking. And I think Poles has a way of isolating those type of players and going for him when he sees them. I think he did a little bit of that with Tyreek Stevenson last year. Like I didn't see Tyreek until late, maybe around this time last year is when I started to notice Tyreek when I was doing the mocks and stuff. I'm like, whoa, how did I not see this guy all year? Like, this dude's real physical, XYZ, blah, blah, blah. And I talked about him a lot. And then to see Poles move up and take him, I'm like, dude, yes, we're seeing the same thing.
That's how I was with Javon Dexter. I love Javon Dexter. Everyone was like, man, we didn't get Jalen Carter. I was so pumped when we got Javon Dexter on day 2. I was like, this guy's a monster.
He just needs better coaching. Yep. So, and
that's one thing about Eric Washington. Yeah, D-line coach. Hey, good.
Yes. As far as in secondary, I'm going to go to safety because I believe that's an area that the Bears are going to start focusing on.
You got to bring in someone to potentially replace Eddie Jackson someday.
Yeah. I think even Eddie knows that. And I like someone to be a little more physical or a little more fundamentally sound with their tackling. And I vacillate between, do I want the 6', 6'1", 6'2" guy at free safety, or do I want the 5'11" dude who's stout and can do the things that? So I'm cross between like Cameron Kitchens, who I really love how he attacks the ball.
I love that guy, man.
Yeah, I love how he attacks the players. He is physical. He's like a lot of Miami secondary guys and defensive backs in their history. And here's the other thing with Poles: if he likes a school or a player that's come from a certain school, he goes back to that school, particularly if he goes back to that area, that position of area. So I can see.
I didn't even really think about reuniting Cam Kitchens with Tyreek Stevenson. That's an underrated point there as well.
So I really like that. But again, he may fall into that spot where it's tough to say, okay, we're going to take him because we don't have that high 2nd round pick, and we'd almost have to
trade down.
Yeah, but what else are we missing that we might need? It gets a little funky. So that's why I say, well, if I can't get Cam, who else can I get? it's safety. I like Tyler Nubin a lot out of Minnesota.
I like him a lot too. Yeah,
big fan of him. He's got the size that I like. He's about 6'2". Now he doesn't have the speed that Cameron has. He's not as quick or explosive, like Cameron, but he is so knowledgeable. He's that guy. He's like, I know where I need to be, so I'll be there.
Coverage instincts make up for speed when you can be somewhere, and that's that. I noticed that with him on film too. He's where he needs to be. He doesn't get beat out by pump fakes, or he's not getting looked off by eye looks, and that's what you need with a safety.
And I'm also I have an affinity for players where there's like football DNA in their family. And I believe he's had like a cousin and an uncle who played, D1 football. So it's like in his family. I think he might have had a relative that might have played either in Canada or something. I don't want to misrepresent, but and even like I think even his mother is like more athletic than the father or whatever. So I like when that DNA kind of, it's there. So it's like, yeah. And not only that, but the family gets it. They understand it. So he has an understanding of what it even means to be professional in a way, or to be an athlete, be a professional athlete, or for athletics to be part of your day-to-day makeup and what that might mean, and the sacrifices that comes along with that.
And he was a team leader and captain as well. Yeah, he's a guy
he's a guy who also, I think, in terms of culture, fitting here, not just with the players, but just with living in Chicago and dealing with the elements. That it's not for everybody. And I know they play more so indoors in Minnesota now, but he's the kind of guy that I've listened to some of what he was speaking about. Like sometimes he just likes to go fishing by himself, like he'll even do a little ice fishing. Hey. Like, okay, look, I'm never going to go ice fishing. Sorry. It's a hard time
Like,
when
hey,
it's
it's
warm
not
out.
my thing, but
Right. Hard time when it's warm out, let alone when it's cold. And I think he plays the piano. So he's a guy who is comfortable with who he is, and he knows who he is already. And that's a team leader type of mentality. And at safety, especially if you're going to be a free safety, if I got that instantly, great. I don't have to worry about you. So I like Tyler Newman a lot. And I want to say, I think he averaged about maybe 3 interceptions the last 3 years or whatever.
yeah, he
So
was productive. Yeah,
yeah,
and
very
he's
productive.
pretty much the only NFL high round pick that was in the secondary, so he was making his defense stand out.
And remember what I said before, polls will go back to the institution where he's had success. Terrell Smith, Minnesota, Tyler Newman, Minnesota.
Great point.
So yeah, so those are some of the guys who I'm really interested in terms of edge rushers, receiver, and free safety. Center, and I hope we can get the kid from Oregon, JPJ Jackson.
I almost wish he wouldn't have been as good at the
I
Senior Bowl.
know, I know. And it's funny because I was speaking with one of my colleagues who's a big Oregon fan, and he was like, "You didn't even mention him." I'm like, "Yeah, I think he's kind of a big guy. I think he gets away with his size." I was like, "I don't know. I have to watch him a little bit more." And then I saw him at Senior Bowl. I was like, "Yeah, no, he's making it look too easy, and he is really he's a lot of these guys, their faces in the dirt majority of the time. So he's a guy who knows how to play and use his size well.
And he was very athletic. I mean, he came in at like 335. So, I mean, I remember the first thing I watched was when they do the little drill where, they take the ball and they make you move side to side, kind of shuffle and then go forward. And I was like, I don't know if he's fast enough during that drill. I'm watching, I'm like, dang, he might be a little slow. And then I see him once they start having him out there on screens and he's pulling and he's dominant. And I'm like, oh man, this guy's a first round pick to me. I think that's what's gonna unless we trade down from 9, we're probably not gonna get him.
Exactly. I agree with you. And I actually have him, I think in my last mock, I had him going to the Packers.
Oh,
I just don't want to see that. But it could happen. But it lines up for the Packers perfectly, actually. Yeah, I know.
We don't want that.
I know. I ain't saying I'm right, but I don't know how wrong I am about that one. Ooh. So, but aside from not being able to get him, because I think it'll be really tough. Things have to really work out for us. I do, as I mentioned earlier, I like Cedric Van Pran out of Georgia. I like his durability, his consistency. I think he needs to get a little stronger, but he's a lot more. Yeah, his athleticism and his side to side lateral quickness I like. And to get him, I think would really help our offense be one of the more athletic offensive lines in all of the NFL. And when you have an athletic line, because both tackles are extremely athletic, our interiors where the issues are.
Yeah, Tevin is super athletic too, inside. Yeah,
and Tevin as well. Got to stay healthy, and we need somebody. We need to draft someone from when he's not healthy. I think Nate Davis had issues in terms of family, unfortunately, with the passing away of family member.
It was tough, tough year.
Yeah, very, very tough year. And I think the other thing too, right quick, I'm sorry, I'm gonna go tangential.
No, you're fine.
With Nate, was that I don't think people realize that he was sandwiched in between a rotating, oscillating center situation of not good centers, and then a rookie right tackle.
Yep.
On top of him not being ready at the beginning of the season because of his own
and being
situation.
New to the system, moving
into the system,
a lot of stuff.
Being healthy, right? So I think, if anyone's going to have the worst year that he could possibly have, it was probably him. So I think a bounce back year is there. But that being said, you get someone like Cedric Van Pran in there with his athleticism and with the veteran leadership around him, even though he'd be a rookie center, he's got good veterans around him. I think that would be one of the more athletic offensive lines. And you can do, whether it's Caleb or whether it's Justin, you can do whatever you want to, be as creative as you want to. You can run. You can trap guys, you can do screens, you can have your guy go off tackle, you can do sweeps, you can do toss sweeps, you can do rotate or have your offensive line roll out, have a moving pocket. I mean, there's so many different things you can do that with Waldron, I'd like to believe he can be creative enough to do that. Cedric Van Pran gives you that possibility. And the other center I like is the kid Frazier out of West Virginia. I think he's probably he's not as strong or as big as JPJ, but he's quick, nasty. Like his arms are not quite as long as I would want them to be, but he's so quick and he gets into you so quickly. He out leverages you before you realize it, and you're on your butt because he plays with a nasty streak as well. I think he's nastier than Van Pran is. Just not quite as athletic, but I think he's just as effective in his own way. So any one of those three centers are guys that I would love for the Bears to have. Those safeties I mentioned. I also like Kalen Bullock out of USC. I like his height. I think that gives you a little bit. And
The
actually like
centers are
Cole.
where it's at, though. I mean,
Yeah,
we
yeah,
need a center.
we've
Like you
got
said, it. If
desperately.
we can get any of those three centers on this offensive line, really changes the future of what this line looks like. I was disappointed Cedric Van Pran did not come down the Senior Bowl because he was one of the guys I wanted to see. He was supposed to be there, backed out last minute. Zach Frazier was there. I talked to him. He
Yeah.
was not. He's injured. Obviously, he hurt his foot. Wasn't cleared for contact, so he was just down there doing individual work and interviews. But man, any one of those three centers, like you said, I would love to have. And that's probably the biggest thing I want this offseason. Other than another receiver, get us a center. Get us a center. I mean, I'd be fine if Poles signs a veteran and drafts somebody like Van Pran or Frazier.
Yeah. I'll be okay with that too, most definitely. And I'll say this last one, and this is just not necessarily a position of need per se, but one that I feel that we should address. And if you have enough draft picks, that's the only reason why I'm going here. I think drafting it sooner than later just gives you that quality depth, and that's at linebacker. I really like North Carolina's Cedric Gray.
Whew.
I think that guy would fit in perfectly, and you wouldn't have to ask him to do a lot right now because of the guys who are here ahead of him. But he can learn, become part of that. You know, that you're developing that culture.
Special teams core guy.
Special teams, definitely core guy, but a guy you can use. And I like his ability to go sideline to sideline, man. And he's a heat-seeking missile when it comes to making tackles. He doesn't miss many tackles. His tackle rate is pretty high. I think he reminds me. I'm not saying he's Lance Briggs in terms of how good he'll be, but he reminds me in terms of tenacity and just focus. You know, like here's a guy, and you like. I remember when Lance Briggs came out, I was like, yeah, okay, Arizona, they're usually pretty good defensive players. Let's see what he has. Oh wow, this guy's good. Yeah, I can see the same thing.
You can tell right away with Briggs.
Yeah.
I mean, Cedric Gray. I'll say it. I underrated him heading in the Senior Bowl. He stood out. I thought Peyton Wilson would probably be the best linebacker down there. It was Cedric Gray, not only in practice, but it showed up in the game as well. He led the team in tackles, I believe. So,
and I still haven't watched. I have the thing to watch the game. I just haven't got around to it yet. I didn't even know that he did what you said he did in the game.
He stood out in the game. Yeah, you'll see it, man. He had a great game.
Yeah. So those are some of the guys that I like, and I hope that we can get a few of them.
And that's what we got 4 of them last year from the Senior Bowl, and I love that. Not every GM is down there on the field walking around like Ryan Poles is at the Senior Bowl. He takes the Senior Bowl seriously. Him and Ian Cunningham. Every time there was one-on-one offensive lineman versus D-line, Poles and Cunningham were within 10, 15 feet. So they're there watching it. They're in the trenches, and they're taking this seriously, the rebuild. And we got a great draft coming up, so I'm excited about it too. I want some guys from the Senior Bowl too, man. I can't wait. Any final words or anything else you want to say about the draft?
Hey, man, just it's going to be, I think, a phenomenal draft. And this might be one if you're a Bears fan or if you're a team that's in the NFC Central. Or I'm sorry, Central. I'm showing my age. NFC North. NFC Central.
Used to be the Central.
Yeah, I'm old. The NFC North, I think this would be one of those drafts where you could see so much activity happen. And particularly for the Bears, this may be a draft that I think people will look back on and say this was a seminal draft for several teams. And I think Chicago being one of those teams, and for being, one of the franchises along with the Packers that, a few other teams that, are foundational franchises when it comes to the NFL, to have them back, be involved and be good for the next 10 to 15 years going forward. I think it's good for the league. I think it's good for Chicago, and I hope it's good for my prospects on keeping a job.
I love it, Glynn, man. I'm so happy I was talking to you. It's an honor to talk to you, man. And anytime you want to come on and talk NFL draft, just hit me up.
Oh, most definitely. Hey, dude, again, thank you. I appreciate you. I respect everything you do, man. You, dude. I respect your hustle and your grind, dude. You're that guy. So same here, bro. Same here. Appreciate you. Thank you for having me.
I appreciate it.